Hello! I've made a couple of videos about my problem soldering with my eyesight, the close-up vision, and I ended up using this thing a lot of times to focus in what I'm doing without me getting to the wrong position. And some of the people mentioned on that video about using microscopes in order to see what they were doing in an easier way, and I've always been interested in that. I had this little USB microscope, but it is terrible. I mean, it gets okay-ish pictures in low resolution, but you could never solder under it. It's not good and it moves around funny and I can't orientate myself. So today we have a funky digital microscope. This is by a company called Joyalens. It has a 10-inch screen, 3 interchangeable lenses. You can use it for soldering. You can sort of be a bit sciencey and look at bugs and stuff and close-ups of all sorts of stuff, and I thought that looks fun. We should take it out of the box, build it and see what we get. Well, the first thing to know is the box is so big I've had to raise my camera up, so hopefully you can still hear me because the mic's in a different position. But let's just see what's inside. Okay. We've got some instructions and we've got some installation steps, which is pretty handy. It's basically stuff the screen in and then mount the lens. Okay. So a bit of a build it yourself job, but what's in here? It's very nicely packed. Okay, that looks like the screen. There's the mount for it there. Then we've got something, not sure. Find out in the instructions, I guess. Some clamps for holding bits on, presumably in the mounting. These look like little clamps to hold things on the, I think, the bottom plate. And this bit we have got, looks like a mini to regular HDMI cable. We've got a right angled USB micro to regular USB. Power and a plus minus, and a plus minus talks about the amount of light or the zoom, for example. I should have read the instructions first, I guess. Remote control. It's a lens, I guess, some sort of lens mount. Very interesting. I've never had one of these before. And then, oh, we've got something here. This piece of plastic. It's all a bit vague, isn't it? And then, oh, here's the mounting thing to actually hold the. I guess this holds the lens. We'll find out. This looks like it's the tube to hold the screen. We get a 32 meg memory card for saving pictures and movies, I believe. And then what we've got here is the base that everything sits on, and we've got some lights here to shine on our subject. Yeah, and that seems to be the lot. Okay, so I think first thing to do for me is just take a look at the instructions for putting it together and actually do that and see where we go from there. Okay, well this is the microscope all built up, pretty easy to put together, and I'll just show you what's going on around the back. If we look in this section at the back behind the little monitor, we've got the SD slot there, and I've put the SD card in. This is a USB cable, this is the HDMI. The USB cable actually runs the entire thing, so you need a 2 amp supply, and this cable then goes down and part of it plugs in here, and that is to power the lights, which you've got the control for, and then we've got the regular USB end, and as I said you need at least a 2 amp supply there. And just plugging the USB in has made it come on. We'll ignore the screen for now because a couple of other things to notice. First off, the lenses. We've got the other lenses here and they've got this handy object distance thing there. You'll see this lens that was already equipped says object distance 12mm to 320mm. which means we've got quite a large range and we can go very close. The lens that it suggests is best for soldering is this guy. So you see this has an object distance of 90 to 300 mil, and the idea of that is you could go quite high up. You have a decent distance to do like soldering and stuff. And then we've got this guy, which needs an object distance of between 4 and 5 millimeters. This is the really high magnification one. Obviously that's a little bit hard to do if we're talking about that. So what you've actually got there is this. This is a slide viewer, and they've in fact given you some slides to try out. And this will sit at the bottom. It's got this little hole there where it plugs in from the back instead of these lights, so that can be lit properly and the slide put on top. And also, to go with the idea of slightly more scientific stuff, this is for looking at bugs and things like little tweezers to help with. So it's got a sort of electronic component, a general looking at stuff kind of idea, and then the more sort of sciencey thing, we're looking at little slides and perhaps little creepy crawlies and stuff like that. Lens is pretty easy to swap out. They've just got these 2 thumb screws. One goes out. The other one goes in. We've also got some movement we can do with the scope itself. We can angle this. Apart from the focusing ring there, we've got this thing which is good for fine focus. We can drop the entire thing up and down, and we've got a secondary ring here to sort of stop it, but when you're talking about going down to ultra close-up stuff, it's practically at the bottom anyway. Okay, so let's put this in a position where we can actually see it, and we'll start looking through it and see what we can see. So here we are, the microscope's on my desk here, and I've got this old flight controller sat down there to have a look at. Now I'm quite conscious of the fact that obviously through the camera you can't really see this. It's a lovely display, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this and then I can show this in the screen. But the reason I'm looking at it here, and we're live recording at this point, is because we can see how it is for the idea of soldering. Now I've got the 90 to 300 mil distance lenses, so you can see I've got a decent amount of space there. If I've got my soldering iron, I can get under there quite nicely. And of course here we're looking at, if we just turn this, and what I quite like about this is that you can turn it quite easily. This is an STM32F405. I've focused in with this main ring, and then I've sort of gone the extra thing with this, and already, just as a demonstration, if I go in and try and look at that little pin there, which I can't really see in my eyes, but if I look there, you can see this is a very fine tip, but I am hitting that pin perfectly. And if I want to go closer, I could drop the lens down, but there is digital zoom in this as well. And the nice thing is about this, even on like 3 times digital zoom, you're not losing too much of the picture there. It still looks good. And again, if I go in with my tip of my iron, you can see I can hit that first pin. Let's go with pin number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can hit that if I want to. I'm going to try and find a board which is broken so I can try doing some actual soldering on there. But yeah, this looks really nice for looking at your circuit things. You can change the lights, you can make the lights brighter or dimmer depending what you're looking at. They're quite nice heated up. You just got to make sure that when you're working on it you don't put your finger in front of the light, else you get some weird hues and stuff happening. Got another little thing, I'm not sure what this is. It's a little 20 by 20 something. Is it a flight controller? You can see it's slightly out of focus there, so let's focus up. That is the board. Invensense MPU 6000. Well, that's to gyro. So, oh, here's the main chip. Now, is this a case of this being too bright? Let's find out. Try and turn the brightness down a bit. It's a little bit easier to read it. STM32F411. Well, that's weird. This is a funny old chip. I don't know who made this, but certainly very good for inspection stuff. You'll notice there's a little bit of wobble when I'm messing with this, and this is because as it's higher up, the screen's got a little bit more movement in it. Just really seeing what it is. Okay, oh yeah, it's a flight controller. That's what ESC can. You back out of that sec. Sometimes you need to see things a little bit further away. Ugh, look at that soldering. I do not like that. Yeah, there's some dodgy soldering from me on this one. You can really get a good impression. There's my finger. Again, very, very solderable and useful from this position. But for what we do now is change the lens out. It suggested that that sort of mid lens is good for if you're a collector and looking at coins and stuff like that. So let's try and look at something. Now, if there's one thing I really don't have in the house these days, it's coins, or stamps particularly. But I found some foreign coins we didn't manage to throw out, and this stamp. So let's have a look at it. Let's put the record on again so you guys can see properly. And start with these coins. This is that's a 500 yen, just from Japan I got back there. So that is not in focus. Let's focus in there. Yeah, that's definitely a coin. Now the question is, if you want to go more zoom than that, then you can obviously drop it. This will go down to like 12 mils, so we can go way down and get a good close-up. So let's go to, just to be ridiculous, here, refocus our microscope. Let's turn this up just a touch. And yes, now we can see the intricacies of the 500 yen coin. I don't know what people who collect coins look at specifically. Some stuff. And again, we've still got the option to digitally zoom in, going all the way up to 3. You can see the little sort of marks on the engraving, how they actually made that texture. That is, it's a crazily good image. It's lit so nicely. That's the thing you can really get from it. What's this? We've got an American 1 cent, or a penny, as they call it there. Zoom back out slightly. Yes, certainly if you needed to inspect stuff, this would be good. You could say things like, ooh, I don't like this thing in the corner. Where's something I can poke at it with? This thing here looks a bit discoloured, and this thing there looks a bit ugly. Well, I suppose you could, ooh, it's all very discoloured really when you look at it quite closely, isn't it? Quite nasty looking. Stamp, let's look at a stamp. This is an Australian stamp. Oh, look at that. I'm guessing this discoloration is hurting its value. No idea how old this one is. I had an old stamp collection that someone gave me when I was a kid, and it's still kicking around. But this is 1936 2D stamp. Maybe that's not bad. Cable landing. You can really get a good grasp for these. I'm guessing stamp people would say, uh-oh, this is not good. Look, it's the little things not very well done there. Nicer here, bit frayed down the edges there. I don't know, I'm not a stamp person, and this is certainly discoloured. But yeah, looking in general, things like stamps can be done. So why don't we break this out and look at some slides. To do this, we need to change to this ridiculously 4mm to 5mm distance lens. We'll have a look at some of these slides they gave us as well. And what we're going to do here is we're going to disconnect that and plug it into there. because these little lights can't get on. We need the slide thing for this bit. The slide thing has its own point of view about where it wants to be. I'll get myself where it's nice and still. Okay, so we are looking at the leg of a honeybee here, which surprisingly you can still move around quite freely and gives quite a nice image. Is it absolutely spot on? Let's have a look. Where's the, just focus a little bit. Oh, there's the focus on this is very, very fine, obviously at this sort of scale. But yeah, the hairy little buggers, these bees. Some of his legs came off on the slide. There's his knee joint. There's another joint, and there's where he chopped his leg off, which is nice. Obviously, if you're into your science and you want to see stuff, the good thing about this is it just holds the image beautifully. It's very hard to do this on the sort of the cheaper, more simple scopes, and it's not too ridiculously zoomed in that you can't like easily look at stuff. Oh, we've got a honeybee wing here. It's like, at least we didn't waste the entire bee. We've now got his wing as well, so I feel like we need to turn this one down slightly on the light. Yeah, there's lots of crap on the lens, or the slide as well, but there is the wing structure quite clearly, and the big veins through there, and where we pulled the wing out. Well, I didn't pull it out, but someone pulled it out. Epidermis of onion, in other words, onion skin, which I guess has been dyed in order to prepare it to go on a slide. Now we have to find it. There it is. Oh, that's better. Use a little bit of. Yep, that's definitely an onion skin, and once again, of course, we can still digitally zoom in a little bit further. And we get it in even more detail. And can we adjust that any more? Yeah, that looks really good. Well, this one I looked at before, this is really interesting. This is a pine stem, and it is bizarrely colourful, if I remember rightly. Let's see if I can get it in there. We're still on 3x digital zoom, so let's just come out a little bit, because I want to get the whole thing on the screen here. Maybe get a little bit more light through it. And then let's see if we can focus that. Yeah, a pine stem, unbelievably beautiful structure, it would seem. Again, I believe these slides get dyed, so it helps see their structure. And it's like, it's almost 3D, because we're getting better detail on that bit, and then when we just focus a little bit more, we can focus on the mid bit. Aside from being able to take video, which I'm taking now, and hopefully you guys are seeing if it's all working right, we can also take a photo. If I just click OK there and click on the photo button, then it should take a photo. And if we're worried that touching the screen does it slightly wrong, we got the remote control here, so I should be able to take a better photo by doing that. And indeed I should be able to do a recording like that. It's recording again. Well, there's just one more slide, so I might as well show the whole thing. Take that one off. Musca domestica compound eye loading. There's some sort of compound eye. That's all I can tell you. And everything just needs its own focus. I'm not sure what this is a compound eye from. Some sort of insect. Maybe a fly. They're very hairy, these things. They really are. But yeah, that is the three lenses, and where do you get the use out of them? This is particularly nice. Just the screen is very good. It's very bright. It's very clear. I'm really quite impressed when we're looking at slides on it. I'm no scientist, but to me this looks pretty cool quality, I have to admit. Now, as far as the setup you've got on here, and it's pretty hard to see because there's so much light going there. You can just see the buttons down below here. We've got obviously the zoom in, zoom out buttons, and you can see there's a little thing that tells you how much you're zoomed in. Maybe I shouldn't have done this with the slides, because the slightest little shake will do it. You've got this OK button here that when you're in the main microscope will start and stop your recording. There's the recording starting up on the side there. If we press it again, it should go, and if we press the picture, it'll take a picture. It won't take a very good picture because I was shaking it about. There is a power off here, but you can actually power off through the main thing. If you just hit that button, the whole thing goes off, and then we press it again, it should come back on. The M button gets you into the menu. The first menu, you can see you can change the resolution. We're in full HD 30. We could go UHD P24. You've got exposure compensation. You can put the date stamp on and off. At the moment it's off for me. I don't particularly like it. You've got the option to change the sharpness. We've gone with the sort of default settings. You've got the option to freeze the image, and then contrast as you'd expect, and colour. I suppose there's some things you might want to look at in black and white, negative. Sepia is a bit of an odd one though. Now if you go to menu and hold that button again, you go over to another set where you can say things like format the SD card, the frequency of the monitor, the language, the date time, grid line setting if you're trying to line stuff up, and Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a bit of an interesting one. I found out that we can turn Wi-Fi on. This isn't mentioned in the manual anywhere, and what it will do is come up with this SSID along with a password of 12345678. Because this wasn't mentioned in the manual, obviously I had to have a look at it. Go ahead and connect to that network. What I noticed is I got an address on 192.168.1, and the server for that, or the router, was on 192.168.1.254. So I had a scan of the ports. I saw it had a web server running, and so I opened it up on 192.168.1.254, and I get this. And we've got a way of uploading files, and it says upload custom files. I do not know what that's about because there's nothing in the manual. If we go into DSIM, we have a folder for movies and photos, and sure enough, if we look at a photo I just took, like this one here, that's my lovely picture of that pine thing, whatever it was. And we can go ahead and get the movies here. The movies won't play, unfortunately, but I can at least download them in this way. So it's a way of getting stuff off without getting the SD card out. Interesting. I did ask them about this, and I said, oh, what's this thing for? I'm interested. And I've yet to hear back, so I'll update if I get an answer to that one. Okay, so I found something to try, and that's trying to remove a tiny capacitor with a soldering iron. Now, in real life, you wouldn't be working on tiny capacitors with soldering irons, you'd be using hot iron guns. but I just thought it was interesting to have a try. This is my Secure 99 with the tiniest tip I've got, and I'm going to leave it so you can see this thing, and we'll start the recording going there. So pesky number C237 we don't like. Just to put it into perspective, if I put my finger there, it's this big, and if I put my tip of my tiny soldering iron there, it's like that. So I feel I can hit it. It's a question of, will I be able to do anything with it? Because obviously, you know, it's going to be difficult to desolder because I can't do both ends at once. But I thought, let's try anyway. What the hell? You know, what's the worst that can happen? I thought what I could do is try and grab it with some tweezers. That is an interesting look on something this small. If we have a look what goes on, the tweezers are so big in comparison, but I can kind of, I feel like I'm doing surgery. I can kind of grab that like so, and then maybe get my iron on there. Let's try it. I mean, this is basically a broken camera board, so it's nothing I care about. So I am going to stick a little bit of solder on the tip. Not much. And then I'm going to try and grab it with my tweezers, and then I'm going to go in. Oh, look at the amount of solder there. Slightly out of focus there. That's annoying. It's incredible what happens if the solder's not right on the tip. It makes it much more difficult to try. Okay, let's go in again. You can see I've managed to splish about a little bit of solder. Ugh. They're right pigs over that. Look, they've got solder all over the place. Well, this will need a clean up. Well, if I was soldering stuff in, I'd be an awful lot more confident. I mean, I'm doing it. It's mounting the right bit. It's mounting this end. What I just can't do is also do that bit at the same time. It's kind of doing what I want it to, in terms of that the solder is mounting. I really can't clean the solder up. I suppose I can get some, oh man, I'm making a right old mess of this, aren't I really? If nothing else, this is a very interesting thing to try. Is there any chance that a stupid desoldering pump will use on that? It seems very unlikely, doesn't it? Let's try anyway. I don't think this is taking much off though. That's the problem. Oh! I'd like to say I got it, but I disintegrated it. But hey, it's the same thing to me. I got it off in some ways. It's just potatoes have a dad. Yeah, you put enough heat through, you'll eventually melt the capacitor. Although this is going terribly in terms of what should be happening, what I'm very impressed with is I thought I would have an issue here because it feels so remote, but when I'm looking through the screen at my soldering iron, it feels like I am there. Oh look, there's a little point there. What if we try and solder onto that? That might be fun, mightn't it? So, we've got a little point there. Can we get some solder on that, as if we were going to solder something to it? Let's get this light looking in the right direction, that might help me. It's better. Right, so, not quite sure what will happen here. Get that on there. Oh my god, look at the size of the blob on the end. This does want to stick. It's always the bloody way. Of course we haven't got any heat in there, have we? Oh no, look! You can see I've already burnt away some of that pad. Oh no, that's just a bit of solder that didn't get there. These pads just do not want to stick. Is that actually on? I mean, it doesn't look like it's really taken, does it? Let's poke it with the tweezers. No, that's not on at all. I've got some flux. Okay. On with some flux. Yeah, just a dollop. Not too much. That looks like a lot, doesn't it? So, will this work now? Where am I? Oh, look at that! Apart from the fact we've got nasty lots of flux and everything there, we've actually got a decent bit of solder there. Have I got a piece of wire or something? Okay, piece of wire. Can we attach the piece of wire to that beautifully tinned pad we've just got there? Hey, it worked! Look at me, I'm pulling it and it doesn't come off. I don't know why I've done this. Let's try and have a couple of those joints we've got. Well, let's try and have a couple of these guys. P.S. I don't know the first thing about using flux properly either. I don't know if that's become apparent from watching me do this, but there you go. You kind of cover the bits you want to get, don't you? And then you drop a load of solder on it and see what happens. Alright, there is some flux. There is some solder. Tell you what, flux is alright, isn't it? I'm pretty happy with that. Let's just see if we can't clean this up a little bit. A bit of alcohol. You know what? I'm pretty pleased with that one. It's just a silly little test thing I'm doing here, but I think that looks good. We're talking about tiny joints on there. Now, if you decide that working on this you need more than a 10-inch screen, we've got, of course, the HDMI input over there. And if you connect this up to a larger monitor, like in my case this 32-inch one, then I can obviously do things like that. Obviously, it's not quite pointing in the right direction for me because I'll have my hands here and then I'll be looking over there. But you get the idea. You can zoom this up as much as you like, basically, and have a better image that way if you so desire. So the manufacturers came back about the Wi-Fi and they said it was for an app called UCam Dashcam, and by using UCam Dashcam, and let me just put this on screen record, you can actually give a live picture. So I'm just gonna you can see what we've got here on the screen, and it's slightly delayed, but if I just move this, it's pretty good actually, and you can go ahead and record from here, take photos, and you'll see we've got the recording icon up, and again quite useful to get. And if we go to files, if you want to stop recording, yeah, okay, we should be able to find that we've got files on screen. Yep, and there they are. Pretty handy. Oh, you can, of course, I forgot to mention, do playback on this by going through the various modes. So here, if I go through, is some of my recordings. If I go ahead and play that, how do I press play? There you can see me just playing back a recording where I was just looking at something, which is a 4-minute clip. So there was also another connectivity mode of this, which is to connect up USB to your Windows PC. Now I don't use Windows, so I didn't really use it, but that's basically, you can control it via the USB, but you'd have to still power up the light separately there, but you can get all the stuff on the screen, and part of the application will measure stuff on here and bits like that, so that's pretty cool. A few things I didn't point out. The fact this is metal means when you are soldering, you haven't got a chance of murdering anything on here. These were obviously for keeping fins in, but if you've got some sort of helping hands that will attach to this, I think that will really help. I have to sort of put my one around the side and that. But this was pretty cool. One thing that really surprised me about it, I thought, I think I mentioned it before, I would seem too remote. When you're looking at a device like this and your hands are doing something else, I kind of thought I'd feel too detached from what my hands are doing to feel like it's real and I can sort of sense what I'm doing. But I was really impressed the fact I could get my soldering iron and put it exactly where I wanted to and keep it there. When I've tried doing things, when I've got them up on a helping hand, it's obviously sort of shaking because I'm trying to really hold my hand still and get it. With this, I did manage to, I think because I'm leaning on my desk, I can keep very still and hit the right areas. I think we all can agree that my micro-soldering skill is absolutely awful, and obviously you don't desolder things with a soldering iron, you use hot air and you melt it off. But yeah, putting things on, I think I'd be okay. I'd be a lot more confident using this thing than trying to use my sort of lenses, and it's positioning again. It's positioning your arms and being relaxed enough to sort of keep still and stuff. So I like it for the micro soldering idea. Not so micro for me, just hitting those little pads and stuff exactly, so I'm never gonna, you know, bash into other capacitors or resistors. I've killed a lot of boards in the past by accidentally hitting those with my sort of shaky hand trying to get one bit of solder onto one bit. And I've discovered the benefit of flux now, so that's good. So the picture on here is fantastic. I can't really show how it looks on the screen because of course I'm filming it and that then YouTube mulches it up, but yeah, it looks really, really nice, really very high resolution. You can focus in just perfectly and get a great sense of what you're seeing. I just have one small complaint about the way this works, and it led to me getting a variety of resolutions in video. It has a battery backed clock and you can set the date on it and that stays current. All the other settings, every time I set them and you power off and power back on again, they've gone back to the original. So I had this set up as like 4K UHD to do some recording, and then I went away and did something, came back, started doing it again, and it has flicked back to regular 1080p. So some of the recordings in 1080p, some of it's in 4K. And same if the contrast or putting the date stamp on, anything like that goes back to default every time you reboot it, which is a bit of a pain. Turning Wi-Fi on as well, that sort of thing. One thing I didn't show as well is this joint here will actually go backwards and forwards, so you can turn the whole thing around. Depending on the sort of thing you've got and depending what position you want to put it in, you can look at it in your different orientations. Obviously you've got the different lenses as well, if you want to look at slides, if you want to look at some other stuff close up like bugs, coins, stamps, whatever you like to do, that's all good. The only downside, I guess, is it's not the cheapest thing in the world. Certainly not, but it seems pretty good quality for what you get. There are ways of making it less expensive though. This is kind of the top of the range one. It's got a 10-inch screen, it's got an HDMI port. If you want to go cheaper than that, you save quite a lot of money just by getting rid of the HDMI port. So if you don't want to put it onto a different monitor and you don't think you need that, you can save quite a bit. And if you want to go down to a 7-inch screen instead of a 10-inch screen, you save more again. So there is a range of prices for this. Anyway, I like it. It's given me a lot more confidence to do small soldering things. And I've already done a few more bits with it. I was going to record it and then I found out I'd put the SD card in my computer. But yeah, I managed to fix a couple of things that I didn't think I'd be able to fix. Mostly they were things I was going to throw away anyway if it went wrong. I still need to practice. It's really good as well to have like bad things you were going to throw away just to practice on and see how it works and what you can do with it and what works and what doesn't work, for example. Anyway, this has been the Joyalens JL249MS. Catchy little title, and of course you can find links down below for where you can get it. Anyway, hope that tech review's been helpful, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.